What is going on, guys? TJ, the big sports guy. I am back at home, as you can see from the background, and today we are going to talk about something that has really been irritating me with the hobby. I've been seeing a lot of posts about this in Facebook sports card groups, so we're going to talk about a very big difference that people seem to be forgetting about and not really talking about right now, but has been an overwhelming problem in the hobby with all of the people that have been sending in sports cards. So stay tuned, guys. We're going to jump into an exciting episode here. So with everyone that is in the hobby right now, we have got a ton of people that have been sending cards in for sports card grading, whether it's with PSA, Beckett, SGC, CSG, or any other company that you can think of. Everybody is going for tens because those bring the most value. People want the most resale value out of their cards that they can get. So they are trying to get the absolute best conditioned raw cards that they can get. As we all know, whether the cards come from Topps or Panini or Upper Deck or any other company, there are a lot of imperfections that can happen in the manufacturing process, which causes issues with some of the cards that will not be tens, which is going to lead us into a very sensitive topic, I'm sure, for some of you. As all of you know, the reason why some grading card companies have the reputation that they have is for iconic cards with high grades, such as the SGC 9.5 Mickey Mantle rookie or the PSA graded Honus Wagner, with all of the speculation around it and as to whether or not the card was trimmed. So today we're going to talk about the difference between trimming sports cards, which is very looked down upon and is considered altering a card, versus the card cleaners and refurbishers. So we are going to take a look at the difference between the two and what that means for the sports card hobby. All right, so I am going to throw an example up here on the screen that kind of got my mind going around this whole topic. This is a post that I saw on Facebook recently. They do call out a specific company or person that they use to do the work on their cards. So I am going to leave that in here so you guys know. I'm not telling you whether you should or should not use this. I'm also not giving my opinion as to whether or not I think this is a good or a bad thing for the hobby. I am simply talking about it, getting it out there, and want to get some feedback from you guys. So please like this video, drop a comment below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't so far. Anyways, back to this post that was on Facebook. As you can clearly see here, there are two labels. There is a Tom Brady rookie card that is currently encased in a PSA 9 with the label, the old label from the slab that was cracked prior to having this card cleaned, refurbed, something. I don't know exactly what was done to this card, but as you can see, it was a PS8 prior. This person used Kurt's Card Care. This is a gentleman who has been pretty well publicized in the hobby. I'm sure a lot of you know who this is, either through Facebook groups, Instagram, etc. I do believe he's in Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. Again, nothing here. I'm not giving my opinion whether or not I think that what Kurt's Card Care is doing is right or wrong, but I do want to discuss this hobby because I know a lot of people look at cards that are trimmed as altered cards that do not deserve the grades that they get. I think that it's possible you could make the case for these cards. They should not get a PSA 8 or 9 without having some kind of a distinction saying that they've either been altered, authentic altered, cleaned, something. If you know anything about coins, when they are cleaned and then graded, they do get a distinction on the label that says that it might be an MS64, let's say, but it has been cleaned. I could definitely see sports card grading going in that direction if PSA can tell that the card has been altered in some way or re-cleaned, refurbished, whatever you want to call it. I am very interested to know what you guys think about that. Drop a comment below. Tell me if you think that sports cards should have some kind of a distinction on the label if the grading company can tell that the card has been cleaned or altered in some way. There are a lot of different ways that you can alter cards nowadays. Kurt's Card Care seems to be pretty inventive with some of the ways that they're helping to reduce either surface dimples, dents, dings, anything, residue, etc. Some of it involves, I'm not really that into the whole process, but I do know it involves a humidor to add or subtract moisture from the card in order to kind of bring it back to life and fill out the card again. So if it's got an indentation or some kind of a ding, there are a lot of different ways that they can help to fix these cards and put them back into a pristine state. One of the reasons, though, that I was kind of looking into this and why I don't think it's necessarily the best idea in the world, or you could at least make that case, is that some cards that come direct from the manufacturer are going to be in a spot where they're going to grade maybe an 8 or a 9 and they have minor imperfections. The fact that those cards exist does a very lot for anyone who's out there that's collecting PSA Tens and wants those cards to hold value and continue to gain value over time. The more 8s and 9s that you can take and alter them in some way or get them to a state where they can receive a 10 grade will hurt the population, obviously, because it will increase them, and decrease the overall value of PSA 10s because there are more of them out there. The reason why we love PSA 10s, Beckett 10s, SGC 10s is because it is a 10. It is the highest graded copy of that card that you can get. There are obviously the gold labels or the I forget what some of the other ones, the diamond labeled cards that are out there that are even more rare, but generally speaking, the PSA or the BGS 10, SGC 10 is going to be the highest grade that you can get. So if people are taking these cards that are a lower grade and working them into a value that they were not supposed to receive artificially, I think that you could definitely make a case that that is the same or similar to trimming a card. We don't want to see people take a card that has rough edges and be able to, trim it slightly and get it centered and make the borders the perfect size so that it will receive a 10 grade. And I'm just curious what your guys' thoughts are on how these two really differ. There seems to be a mindset with the new set of collectors or investors that came into the hobby in the last couple of years that seem to think that if you're just rubbing something off of the surface or cleaning ink off of a card, or it had a ding from the factory that shouldn't have been there, so I'm just correcting the issue. They don't seem to see the problem here with artificially creating a grade that was not intended for a card that had an imperfection. So hopefully you guys are paying attention to these things and noticing these posts that are out there and paying attention to your cards. If you do a really great job of identifying raw cards and their condition just by eyeing them, looking them over, putting them under a magnification of some kind and under light, you can do a pretty good job of judging what type of a grade you're going to get from any of these companies when you send them in. You really shouldn't need to do this. I think it's another step that's a little bit over the top, but interested to hear your thoughts. Another good example that I can think of off the top of my head is the 1990s Michael Jordans, for example, that had some darker backgrounds, especially a black print on the back or on the front of a specific card. The reason why those cards were so hard to gem is because of that dark color, and you could see either edge wear or chipping or something like that. And so now those cards that were graded a 10 have so much more value than an 8 or a 9 because those imperfections exist. If there was a way to touch up those edges and someone was able to figure out a way to put back the color that was missing on a dark background and then send that card in to get a 10, the population for those 10s would explode, and then the value of those cards would come down and they just would not be as popular or as valuable, etc. So I really think that it could hurt the hobby to have people changing and trying to fix some of these things that they fault the manufacturer for but don't think should be there. And I do understand, as a customer, a consumer, a product buyer from Panini and Topps and those companies, I completely understand that spending a lot of money, which I still think are overpriced, right, for some of these boxes, whether it's hobby boxes, retail, whatever, we should get a better, higher quality product for sure. but the fact that there are some minor imperfections in there is okay with me, because when you do finally get your hands on, whether you pull it or you buy it and then send it for grading, getting your hands on a card that is mint and then getting it back as a 10 should be a symbol that that card is that much better than the other cards that were out there in the product. So we do need some cards that are not going to grade 10s. We do need some that will, obviously. And you guys let me know what you think about this, but I definitely think that a case could be made for card trimming and card cleaning to fall under the same category, and I could definitely see some of these card grading companies putting a distinction on the label to let you know that it's a 10 now, but it wasn't always a 10 because it's been altered in some way. So I really appreciate you guys checking out this video, and I will catch you next time.